Traditional framework relies on the Varna system. It presents a static, four-tiered pyramid, assigning every individual a social rank based on ancient texts. But when sociologists map actual political and economic power in a real village, the model frequently fails to predict where the power actually sits. The text does not match the territory. Sociologist M.N. Srinivas identified this discrepancy by drawing a sharp line between the theoretical book view and the empirical field view of Indian society. The book view treats caste as a fixed decree. The field view focuses on the physical, daily interactions of living people. On the ground, the four broad varnas shatter into hundreds of hyperlocal, specialized occupational groups known as jatis. To trace the actual flow of resources and social status, we look past theoretical texts and analyze the localized data of modern political and economic networks. The book view operates on a hypothesis. A group's social rank is determined by the purity of its attributes, specifically its occupation and its diet. Anthropologist McKim Marriott tested this hypothesis in the village of Kishangari in Uttar Pradesh. Plotting castes by occupational and dietary purity reveals anomalies. Carpenters outrank gardeners despite cleaner theoretical jobs. Non-vegetarian leatherworkers and vegetarian washermen share the exact same rank line. Finally, Brahmin nodes in Kashmir and Bengal rank highest despite a non-vegetarian diet. If diet and occupation cannot reliably predict social rank, the textbook attributes are insufficient. The local hierarchy is driven by a different mechanism. To find that mechanism, Adrian Mayer conducted a field study in Ramkari, Madhya Pradesh, searching for the metric of local status. He found it in commensality, the daily rules governing who can accept cooked food and water from whom, and what type of vessel that water is served in. This map shows the flow of food denoting status. Arrows flow outward from Brahmins. Everyone accepts their food, but they accept none back. Middle tiers negotiate. Dairymen accept from Brahmins but refuse potters. Those isolated by complete interaction denial fall to the bottom. But this interaction-based matrix requires strict spatial control, which collides with modern environments. The physical realities of urban industrialization force proximity. In a factory assembly line, individuals are seated side by side. Strict pollution rules are physically difficult to enforce. Public transit accelerates this. In the crowding of a train car, spatial segregation vanishes. The ability to regulate commensality dissolves. The caste hierarchy is an active daily matrix of physical interactions. When modernization forces proximity, the matrix loses its structural integrity. If the matrix is based on interactions, what happens when a low-ranking group acquires economic wealth? M.N. Srinivas defined this as the dominant caste, a group whose local power stems from demographic size and land ownership, overriding the ritual status the texts assign them. F.G. Bailey documented this power shift in the village of Bisipara in Orissa following Indian independence. The historical baseline was clear. The warrior caste owned the land and dominated secular life. The distiller caste ranked low, marginalized by an occupation deemed polluting. This chart tracks the economic flip. As warriors lose land and wealth, the distillers gain a liquor monopoly. They use this new wealth to sever connections with warriors, adopt Brahminical rituals, and push their node upward via Sanskritisation. Ritual rank is ultimately subordinate to economic and political power. Money can change a position in the hierarchy by forcing changes in daily interaction. Sanskritisation has a limit. It primarily works for the middle tiers. For those at the bottom, the untouchables, pollution stigma often blocks upward movement within the matrix. Anthropologist O.M. Lynch studied the Jatavs, a community of leather workers in Agra, who realized that emulating the upper castes was a dead end. The Jatavs executed a strategic pivot. Instead of negotiating for ritual status, they rejected the hierarchy and turned to the macrostructure of the modern democratic constitution. They used universal suffrage to convert their numerical population into secular power. A ballot requires no ritual purity to cast. By forming secular associations and political parties, they transformed a stigmatized identity into a unified voting bloc. The Jatavs demonstrated that a social system can be navigated not by following its internal religious logic, but by leveraging external demographic weight in a secular democracy. Moving from the book view to the field view reveals that ancient Varna texts are often disconnected from modern Indian power dynamics. The caste system demonstrated an ability to transmute, shifting from a matrix of food-sharing rules into modern networks of corporate and political interests. These studies suggest mapping social stratification requires a focus on the operational reality of how humans share resources and wield power on the ground. True hierarchy is negotiated in the field.